What if Dr.Doom and Grand Admiral Thrawn formed an alliance? Let's explore the depths of the scenario in the video. On Lothal, the New Republic leadership gathers to discuss a troubling development. Over the last few weeks, there have been a series of attacks on former Jedi and Sith Temples by Imperial remnants. While there are still dozens of holdouts, these attacks seem coordinated, as they exclusively attack these places instead of military or political targets. This has resulted in the capture of multiple Jedi artifacts. Worse, there have been rumors that someone is trying to unite the remaining Imperial factions. The Council tries to figure out what is happening and how to respond, but they don't have intelligence about who is leading this new faction. Rumors around the leader's identity, from a resurgent warlord to even Darth Vader, come to light. As the Republic discusses plans, a report arrives that an Imperial shuttle is trying to land. Hera hurries to the landing pad with a squadron of rebel troopers. When the shuttle lands and opens its doors, a single stormtrooper arrives and raises his hands over his head. The two embrace as the rebel troopers lower their weapons. For a moment, they forget about the attacks, until Hera asks what happened to him. Ezra's smile fades as he gives them troubling news. The rumors of a resurgent leader are true, and it's none other than Grand Admiral Thrawn. Ezra explains that after they sent him into another galaxy, he found an ally who agreed to help him return here in exchange for an alliance. This ally is a powerful sorcerer and inventor called Dr.Doom. Ezra managed to stow away on the Chimera when it returned here to warn them. Unfortunately, he has no idea what their plan is. All he knows is that they are attacking ancient temples and ruins, but what Ezra does bring is help. He gestures for someone aboard the ship, and a group of people depart. 3 of them appear human, but another is a hulking figure that seems to be made out of stone. Ezra introduces them as the Fantastic Four, the sworn enemies of Dr. Doom. The Rebel Alliance are happy for any help they can get, and they begin trying to figure out their next steps. Reed Richards, the leader of the Fantastic Four, recommends mapping out the recent attacks to look for patterns. They list all the known attacks and send scouts to find other potential locations. Mr. Fantastic works closely with Luke, trying to predict their next attack. Eventually, they manage to narrow it down to a handful of locations and send troops to try and protect them. Among them, the largest temple is protected by Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Ezra Bridger, the Thing, and the Human Torch, along with a group of rebel troopers. They fortify the place as best they can and prepare for the oncoming battle.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Don't worry, just let them come. I'll show these night troopers what happens when they mess with the best.
Something doesn't feel right. It's too quiet. Don't jinx it, kid. They'll show. The quiet is shattered as artillery rains down on them. The rebels dive for cover and hear the sound of hundreds of footsteps mixed in with the hum of machines. From the forest, the night troopers emerge. They're once white-armored, splattered with much dirt. They are led by Captain Enoch, who strides confidently at the front and raises his vibrosword.
Attack! Leave no one alive!
The night troopers charge forward, blasting fire. Luke moves out of cover and deflects the attacks, his lightsaber a blur of motion, but it allows the others to get some cover and return fire. Ezra joins him and helps watch the temple doors. Han and Chewbacca organize the rebel troops and get them into position. The Human Torch joins them and fires a barrage of heat, sending the entire front rank stumbling back as the ground goes up in flames. The Thing takes advantage of the chaos, rushing at the night troopers.
Not so tough now, huh?
I'm not so sure about that. Although they initially keep the night troopers back, these veterans soon rally and begin to counterattack. As the Thing makes a deep gap into the enemy lines, several night troopers discard their blasters in favor of stun batons. They rush at the hero and begin battering him with these weapons, sending shocks running across his body. This slowly brings his momentum to a stop, allowing the night troopers to surround him. The Human Torch swoops down on them, blasting them back as he tries to save his friend. He blasts aside the first wave of night troopers. but the others keep back and open fire with blasters. A squad of them flank the Human Torch and fire an electrified net gun that knocks him to the ground.
Ezra! Han! Go and help them!
Han, Ezra, and Chewbacca lead a squad forward and open fire at the night troopers, forcing them to divide their attention. Ezra uses the Force and throws them aside before leaping up and slicing the net, keeping the Human Torch bound. The Thing also rises to his feet and slams his fists on the ground, sending shockwaves that throw the Imperial troops aside. Enoch joins the battle, leaping over the shockwave and slashing his vibro sword at him. He scores multiple hits, but none penetrate the Thing's rocky hide. The night trooper captain soon leaps back to avoid the counterattack. As he backs away, his men close ranks and protect him. As the battle rages on, Luke watches this closely and frowns. They sent half their men to try to rescue the Fantastic Four, but the troopers aren't taking advantage of their forces being spread thin. Instead, they are just trying to keep the fight going.
Wait, this isn't right. They're not trying to take the temple. They're trying to hold us here. It's a distraction. We need to tell Leia now.
Meanwhile, in the Rebel command ship, alarms blare as the ship is in chaos. Hera is at the helm trying to restore order and organize a counterattack as Thrawn's Chimera bears down on them. As the shields fail, the Admiral begins deploying boarding craft aboard the ship. Hera is about to issue more orders, but receives a transmission from Thrawn.
Rebel scum, you are outmatched. Luckily for you, I am only interested in one of your crew. Surrender her, and the rest of you may live.
Mr. Fantastic and Mrs. Fantastic rush to intercept the intruders as the battle spills into the corridors. The two manage to hold back large groups of intruders, with Mr. Fantastic's limbs stretching out and sweeping through entire groups of enemies. Meanwhile, the Invisible Woman sneaks behind enemy lines and attacks them while they least expect it. She also protects the rebel troopers using force fields, allowing them to evacuate or fight back. As they drive back one group of night troopers towards their ship, a burst of lightning shoots out and electrocutes all of them. From the ship, a single figure steps out. Dr. Doom's green cloak billows behind him, while his armor gleams menacingly. Dr. Doom strides through the wreckage, his green cloak billowing behind him, his eyes glowing with malevolent power.
You were fools to come out here. All you will find here is death.
Yeah, nice to see you too, Victor.
Dr. Doom waves his hand, sending bolts of dark energy towards them. At the last second, the Invisible Woman raises a force field to protect her and her husband, but this buckles under his attack. As it dissipates, Mr. Fantastic punches Dr. Doom across the face. He follows this up again, but Dr. Doom catches his fist and pulls the hero forward into a headbutt. Mr. Fantastic stumbles to the ground as Dr. Doom places a foot on his chest and prepares to fire another burst of lightning. Suddenly, he staggers back as he's hit several times by the Invisible Woman who hides herself. She attacks him from several angles and keeps him off balance, until Dr. Doom lashes out in the air and snatches her by the throat. The Invisible Woman reveals herself as the villain's fists crackle with energy. Before he can land the finishing blow, blaster fire strikes him across the chest. Hera and Leia appear by the door, accompanied by several squads of rebels.
Come on, let's get out of here.
They pour fire at the door, but the blaster bolts glance off his armor. Seeing this, Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman get to their feet and hurry to their side. Hera leads the way towards some escape pods, while the rebels buy them time to escape. Although brave, nothing they throw has any effect on the Doctor, and he advances down the hall, firing bolts of electricity or throwing rebels aside. Only a handful of rebel soldiers stand in their way, but this group is quickly thinned out by Dr. Doom. Still, they manage to reach the escape pods and Hera prepares to launch. However, as Leia is about to enter, Dr. Doom reaches out and grabs her by the collar, pulling her back out.
No!
Mr. Fantastic tries to grab her, but Doom raises a force field to block his attack and fires at the pod's controls.
Goodbye, Reed. Once again, it has been a pleasure to spar with you.
This isn't over, Doom.
On the contrary, Princess. It has only just begun.
As they leave,
Luke and the remaining rebels return from the surface of their mission. Unfortunately, all they find is the wreckage of the command ship. The crew hurries to begin searching for survivors and rescuing whoever they can. They eventually find Hera and Mr. and Mrs. Fantastic, and a few others. But the report of Leia's capture is a serious blow to the rebellion. To make things even worse, Dr.Doom and Thrawn soon release a recording across the galaxy, calling for all loyal citizens across the Empire to unite under their banner. The duo quickly captures important worlds and powerful warlords. The sight of their victory is so great that it looks like they may reunite the Empire. Even in the New Republic, some people are reconsidering their loyalties and begin defecting back to the Empire for fear of what they might do. Seeing their support bleed away, the rebels desperately try to find a solution. Meanwhile, Dr. Doom takes Leia back to Tantus base, where he begins experimenting on her to harvest her midichlorians. For weeks, he takes her blood and experiments on it, trying to replicate her M count. His goal is to transfer the blood into himself and become Force-sensitive, allowing him to take Palpatine's place as the new Emperor. Meanwhile, Grand Admiral Thrawn will become his right-hand man. However, not all Imperials are enthusiastic about this change in leadership. Many still believe they should be in charge of the Empire and refuse to join Dr. Doom, instead defecting to the Rebel Alliance. With these defections comes information. Many of the Imperials present rumors of where Dr. Doom is and what he's planning. Most of these are just baseless claims, but one that interests the rebels is a claim that Thrawn's ship was spotted in Tantus, and that Dr. Doom was spotted with a young senator, something not mentioned in his original address. However, the rebels are reluctant to launch a rescue effort because of the risks. Dr. Doom and Thrawn have proven themselves master strategists, so they are reluctant to risk more resources. That doesn't mean that it's entirely hopeless. Neither leader has much experience with Tantus, while the rebels have someone who has been there several times, a young pilot named Omega.
What is Tantus?
It's a terrible place. The Empire used it as a lab to experiment on people. Clones, kids, animals. They were harvesting my blood for some reason. I never learned why. I don't want to know.
Is this place dangerous?
Very. I barely got out when I tried to escape. And that was with the best squad of clones this galaxy has ever seen. If you're going there, you need to be ready.
Thank you for your help, Omega. You've done more than enough, and we understand if you'd like to return to your regular duties.
Like I said, if you're going in there, you need to be ready. I will get my things and I'll take you. That place hurt a lot of people, that I'm not going to let it hurt anyone else.
This is enough to convince the rebels to risk the plan. Omega takes the Fantastic Four, Luke, Han Solo, and Chewbacca to Tantus. Meanwhile, Hera, Ezra, and Sabine depart to another location for their plan. The Falcon sweeps into the jungle, following a large trail of broken trees and blood-curdling roars. As they approach Tantus, Omega's eyes widen as she sees the heavily fortified laboratory that has been built up since his return. Doombots are everywhere, their metallic bodies gleaming ominously in the dim light. They are mixed with night troopers who unleash a torrent of blaster fire, forcing the heroes to take cover. Luke and the Invisible Woman protect the strike team while Mr. Fantastic stretches over the wall and pulls himself up, taking the Thing and the Human Torch with him. They bowl through the guards, shattering Doombots and throwing night troopers off the ledge until they get the door open. Luke leaps forward, his lightsaber ready as he cuts through the squad of Doombots waiting for them inside. Chewbacca, Han, and Omega stay close and fire their blasters. They quickly take cover as automated defense turrets open fire on them. The Thing charges through the chaos, his massive stone fists smashing through Doombots and leaping up to rip apart one of the turrets. Before he can turn on the rest of them, the turrets deactivate, and the Invisible Woman appears at the end of the hallway, smirking as she cuts the circuits. This leaves the Doombots exposed as Omega and Han rush forward, firing their blasters and taking out other defenses, surveillance systems, and more. Eventually, they manage to fight their way into the lab entrance. As they enter, they find a medical suite where Leia is strapped to a metal table and to a series of vials that pulses with a strange, sickly light. Surrounding the chamber are various machines,
all whirring with dark energy.
Leia! Mr. Fantastic reaches out to unstrap her, but feels the door electrocute him as soon as he makes contact. Dr. Doom stands at the far end of the chamber and laughs.
I was starting to worry that you wouldn't show up.
Doom raises his hand, and the lab crackles with energy. Bolts of electricity shoot from the walls, creating deadly webs of power that surge towards the heroes.
The walls are electrified.
The group backs away from the electricity, knowing that making contact with it is a certain death, all except for the thing who barrels straight towards Leia's room, his massive bulk smashing through the doors, ignoring the electrical surge. The rest of the team joins after him and takes cover, allowing the electricity to pass them. Omega begins working on the restraints, trying to deactivate them. Human Torch responds first, his body igniting in a fiery blaze as he fires at Dr. Doom. Despite the intensity of the flames, the armored foe doesn't slow down. Instead, he chuckles.
Impressive. Now it's my turn.
He suddenly unleashes a bolt of lightning that forces him back into cover. To his side, the thing charges at Doom, smashing through the lab equipment in his pass. But Doom waves his hand. A force field springs up, halting the thing's advance. Although he continues to pound at the force field, nothing gets through. That is until Dr. Doom begins to fly erratically as if being played with by an invisible hand. Luke smiles and waves his fingers around as he slams the doctor against the wall. While he's pinned down, Mr. Fantastic wraps his body around Dr. Doom like a boa constrictor, coiling around him and tightening his grip. While he's restricted, Mr. Fantastic begins to throw punches while Han and Chewbacca open fire on him. None of these can get through his armor, so Reed uncoils and uses the momentum to send Dr. Doom stumbling towards Luke, who raises his lightsaber.
I'm going to make you regret taking my wife.
However, the doctor is not as disoriented as he appears and crosses his wrists to catch the blade. An energy shield forms around it and sends a shockwave that sends Luke back. Before he can finish him off, Dr. Doom staggers from a blow to the head as the invisible woman sneaks up from behind. Eventually, Omega manages to unlock the restraints. Han rushes back and picks Leia up, carrying her away. The others join after her, trying to escape. Dr. Doom unleashes a massive surge of dark energy, sending arcs of electricity across the entire room. But the Human Torch gets up and unleashes a barrage of fire to meet his attack, dissipating the electricity while Luke redirects the energy away from his friends. The last vestiges are dissipated by the invisible woman. The three stand side by side as they act as the rear guard.
You're gonna need a lot more lightning to take down a Jedi.
Dr. Doom obliges him by unleashing another burst of electricity, but Luke is ready and deflects it with his lightsaber. The invisible woman rushes back, carrying a medical cart, and rolls it towards him. The villain throws it aside. It buys the three of them some time to run away and join the others. As they retreat, Mr. Fantastic breaks off to head towards the reactor, his arms stretching to their limits as he frantically searches for the control panels, trying to reroute the lab's power systems, directing all energy into a single focal point.
Ahsoka, where are you guys? We have Leia and we're heading out of the lab.
We're on our way there. It takes a while to get a package this big.
She's nearly cut off by a monstrous roar in the background.
Don't worry. The plan should work.
He nods and hits the last of the terminals before making his way outside to rejoin the others. When the doors slide open, he freezes as he's greeted by the sight of hundreds of blasters trained on him and the rest of the rescue team. Thrawn stands confidently at the forefront, his icy blue eyes studying the rescue team. Surrounding him is his legion of night troopers. Han, Luke, Chewbacca, and the rest of the Fantastic Four already have their hands up. The Grand Admiral looks to Mr. Fantastic and smiles.
You are bold, I will grant you that. But this game is over.
The situation grows even grimmer as Dr. Doom emerges from behind and he crosses his arms.
At long last, you have finally met your match, Reed Richards. You are finally out of tricks.
Not quite.
He suddenly lashes out with his elastic limbs, smashing into the terminal and unleashing the rerouted power pent up there. He then wraps his elongated arms around Dr. Doom. He channels the remaining electricity through his body, directing it straight into Doom's armor. The electricity surges through the metal, sparking wildly and causing Doom to convulse under the intense power. Mr. Fantastic trembles at the intense electricity, feeling his own body losing its shape as the power courses through him, making it difficult to retain his form. Doom lets out a guttural roar, his voice filled with pain and fury as the electricity courses through him. Thrawn's night troopers raise their weapons, unsure of what to do, but they hesitate, unwilling to risk hitting their leader. Luke and the Invisible Woman don't have such issues, and spring into action. Luke uses the Force to pull Mr. Fantastic away from Doom, while the Invisible Woman creates a force field to shield them from any potential retaliation. The three join the others. Doom staggers, smoke rising from his armor, but he remains standing, his armor cracked and sparking, but he refuses to fall. He clenches his fists, summoning his dark power to retaliate.
Fools! Did you think that some electricity could stop me?
But before Doom can strike, a new sound echoes through the battlefield, the roar of engines. The Millennium Falcon swoops down from the sky, its guns blazing, blaster bolts raining down on night troopers, creating chaos and confusion in their ranks. The ramp of the Falcon is already down, as Ahsoka and Ezra seem to be focusing on something, channeling the Force into the jungle. From the trees, a massive roar thunders across the horizon, so loud that some of the troopers drop their blasters to cover their ears. Emerging from behind the ship is a massive, terrifying creature, the Zillo Beast. Its enormous form looms over the battlefield. The Zillo Beast lets out a deafening roar, its eyes locked onto Dr. Doom, who is still struggling to regain his composure as electricity courses through him. Thrawn acts quickly, ordering his night troopers to open fire. Blaster fire pours on the beast, followed by larger weapons like rockets and artillery. But all of those bursts bounce off the Zillo Beast's impenetrable hide. It simply annoys the monster, who sweeps its massive tail across the battlefield, throwing up dozens of troopers. The Invisible Woman huddles with the others, creating a force field around them. Seeing how useless their weapons are, Thrawn orders his night troopers to retreat. They begin to back away towards their ship, covering their leader as they escape. Thrawn knows better than to engage the Zillo Beast head-on, especially with the lost battle. Doom, however, refuses to retreat. He raises his hands, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts at the Zillo Beast, but the creature is unfazed. It stomps towards him, its massive form dwarfing Doom. With a final, desperate cry, Doom charges at the Zillo Beast, his hands cracking with dark energy, but the creature simply swats at him with one of his colossal claws, sending Doom crashing into the ground. The Zillo Beast lowers its head, its maw opening wide. With one swift motion, it devours Doom whole. The Dark Lord's scream echoes briefly before being silenced forever. The battlefield falls silent. Sabine lowers the Millennium Falcon and allows the rest of the team to make their escape. Its guns were still trained on the remaining night troopers, but Thrawn had already retreated with his forces, leaving only the wreckage of the battle behind. Luke, Han, Chewbacca, Omega, and the Fantastic Four regroup, gathering around the still dazed Leia, who had been freed during the chaos. Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine join them, their faces grim but relieved. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.